Hi, how's it going? You guys good? I'm good. I wanted to come online today and talk about a really, a really timely meme that one of my very good Facebook friends posted. I kind of took it and ran with it. And the post said here, it's got Kermit the Frog playing the ukulele. Oh no, I think it's a banjo. No, it's a banjo. And it says, here's a little song I wrote called Your Conspiracy Theorist Friend Was Right and You Owe Them an Apology. You know what? Do you know how many times I've said that same thing? And I've been like, you know what? We were right about this. We were right about this. We were right about this. You owe us a motherfucking apology for all the things that we were right about. And every single post that was talking about governmental corruption or, that Prince Andrew thing, I see so many conspiracy theorists getting online and saying, we told y'all. And as much as I love to see it, and as tempting as it is to rub it in everyone's face and say, you owe us an apology, the fact that the way this thing works and the way this sort of experimental thing or this genocidal thing works is that it starts from the ground up, right? So it starts with the people that society neglects the most, and then it works its way up, which means by the time people are aware enough to pay attention to what's happening to the people who are being ostracized, to the people who are being killed, to the people who are being blacklisted, by the time the public becomes aware of what's happening, it's already too late. It's already too late, and the people that we could have saved end up dying. And so the fact that we were right all along, or history validating our truth, can only be so satisfying, because the wrong people were the ones holding up the slack for everybody else, and the right people caught on way too late. They caught on before they could do anything of note, or they could do anything significant, because the thing is, in order to do something significant, it has to cost you something. And at the end of the day, the only time when the rest of the public were willing to listen to what we had to say was when they heard it from the mouths of people who were relatively privileged, like the Meghan Markle situation with all the gang stalking. And let's be honest, it is gang stalking, with all the psychological warfare aimed at her and Harry. Ordinary people have been going through that. We've been talking about it, but nobody's paid attention to us because we don't have the money. We don't have, our looks have deteriorated because of the torture as well. So, nobody's going to listen to us because we're not rich. We're not rich. We're not rich enough to put on a presentable image for everybody, for everyone to listen to. So, of course, nobody's really going to listen to us and what we have to say. And then on top of that, with the Britney situation, with the power of attorney fraud, lots of vulnerable people have been going through that too. In fact, that's quite a common thing among TIs. It's quite a common thing among TIs, where as soon as we get out of control, or as soon as we start speaking the truth, suddenly we're slapped with the paranoid schizophrenic fucking diagnosis. And in some cases, not only are we given medications, we are given like clear overdoses of medication. There's a guy on here that talks about that. I can't remember what his name is, but there was a black gentleman who was in hospital, and he was given 8 times the dosage, 8 times the recommended dosage for somebody with his diagnosis. But again, nobody paid attention to us because we're not rich. We're not rich enough to put on a entertaining or a pleasing image for everybody. So nobody's really going to listen to us apart from one another. So, it would have cost people something to listen to us and help us out. But that's when it would have been most powerful. Do you understand? when somebody had to sacrifice something. The only time when people are prepared to listen to the fact that there are VIP pedophiles still living, that there are evil billionaires and things like that, the only time when people are prepared to listen is when it doesn't cost them to do so, is when they know they're going to be approved of, is when they know they're not going to be called crazy, is when they know they have nothing to lose by acknowledging what's going on. That's the only time when they chose to actually acknowledge that all of this was going on, that sonic attacks are going on. Again, everything about the gang stalking experience experienced by ordinary people is taken and reframed through US diplomats, through Meghan Markle, through Britney Spears. It's reframed through people in privileged positions, and it's used to fuel a particular narrative. Okay? It's used to fuel a particular narrative that maintains the status quo rather than being used in a way to dismantle the status quo. So everything that the conspiracy theorists have been talking about has been taken and reframed to make an excuse to keep the status quo going. That is what happens each and every time. Eventually, our governments, our corporations, they do admit to what they're doing because, they do admit to what they're doing because they have to. It's just the ways in which they do it allow us to revel in our comforts just that little bit longer, revel in the comforts that we have layered on in order to create the world of our own making, rather than accepting the world, the real world as it is. Because that's what we've done. I think it was Movies with Mikey who said that. We layer comforts, one comfort on top of the other, until we create our own illusory world that we can escape to. And the real world doesn't matter anymore. I told you that I do that, but the difference with me is that because I have borderline personality disorder, and I have depersonalization issues as well, the way I manifest my fantasy and my delusion is different to somebody else, the way somebody else does theirs. But I think it makes it more dangerous when your delusion doesn't manifest in you talking to yourself, doesn't manifest in you twitching, doesn't manifest in you believing in conspiracy theories, but it actually manifests in an agreed upon reality that causes more harm than good. And that's the reality that most people live in. And it's that reality that will make sure that when the truth comes out, it will come out in a way that will have absolutely no effect, no bearing on what comes next, because the damage has been done. Now, I'm going to read the Facebook post because I feel like I've rambled, but I tend to be a lot clearer in my writing than I am when I speak. So let me just I've touched on some points that I've already written, but let me read it for you anyway. So what I've said about the subject is this. Many of us sacrificed potentially satisfying love lives, useful friendships, proper careers, and most importantly, our health, to speak truth most people chose to ignore unless more privileged people appeal to others enough to say it for us. Many of us have paid the price with overdosed medications, terrible illnesses, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, the complete erosion of our human rights, the draining of our finances and resources. We have been slandered, had our reputations obliterated, and many of us have been murdered by our governments in the time it took for the public to even entertain the idea that they have been loud and wrong this entire time. And yet, I said that they wouldn't apologize. I said that in spite of this really funny meme, and in spite of, us basically saying, we told you, an apology ain't coming. And I list 3 reasons why. Number 1, the boiling frog effect. The truth was revealed far too slowly for people to twig that we were actually right, and thus, it's too late to do anything anyway. Number 2, and this is crucial, I want you guys to listen to this. People don't like being criticized. I'm going to say it again. People don't like being criticized. None of us like it. We all want to act like we can take criticism, or no, we can't. We can't. The whole reason why entertainment is the way it is because we can't take being criticized deep down in our spirit. We can't take the shit. That's why when we have entertainment, we want entertainment that speaks our language, that makes us feel good about ourselves. That's the world that we retreat into with our beliefs, with the TV we watch, with the books that we read. We retreat into a world of our own making where we get to decide how things should be. We don't deal with the real world as it is for the simple reason that we can't take criticism. I go on. People don't like being criticized, and our acknowledgement that our detractors were wrong could be construed as criticism. It is criticism. People double down when they are criticized, whether we like it or not. Number 3, we still aren't respected. Now, this really needs to be paid attention to. Look, if I was still a pretty young thing, like I was when I was like 14 to 16, if I had my 14 to 16-year-old body and my 36-year-old mind, trust and believe, people would definitely listen to me. If I had all the wisdom that I have now and I had the body that I had then, there is no doubt in my mind that I would have been listened to a lot more than I am now. But that's because people hear with their eyes. They don't hear with just their ears. They hear with their eyes. They hear with their nose. They hear with all these types of things. They hear through their pleasure center. They hear through their pleasure center. They don't hear with their ears. They don't hear that. They don't want to hear the truth. They only want to hear the truth if it appeals to them, if it's in a way that appeals to them. Interactive play. If we bring them into an illusory world, that's why fiction is so important. We bring them into an illusory world that appeals to them, and through that, people like to learn. It doesn't change. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're a child or an adult. That's the way that people learn, right? Primarily. So if I look the way that I do now, I don't have my makeup on. My hair's like, I have to admit that I'm doing better on the old hair loss front. I don't have my makeup on right now. I don't look as young as I used to. I don't look as good as I used to, right? So that impairs my ability to reach people. And I know what you're going to say in the comments. Those of you who are here to troll are going to say I'm ugly. I've heard it before. Those of you who are going to, who are on my side, you're going to say I'm beautiful. Again, I've heard it before. Okay? But the truth of the matter is that I'm not marketable like that in comparison to somebody else. So I'm not going to be listened to, and I'm not going to be respected enough to listen to in comparison to someone else. That's just the reality of the situation. I can be as right as I want. As right as I want. Don't nobody give a fuck. I don't appeal to them. I'm not giving them anything. So, apologizing to me, like, what I mean? If it happens at all, it's going to happen too late. Come on, man. And then what I've written down here is, who the hell is going to waste their time apologizing to people that are vulnerable and look it as well? It takes strong, decent people to do that, and most human beings don't fit that description. Certainly not enough to apologize with any real sincerity or any real accountability. And when it comes to this whole thing of apologies or what have you, let's think of the most crucial point of all. If we were really apologized to, let's just say everybody who ever criticized us, they turn around and said they were sorry. If everybody who wrongfully diagnosed me who stood by the side of people that harassed me and bullied me and you know, were unlawful voyeurs and shit, if people, all the people who stood by those cunts that did what they did to me, if all the people who gang stalked me, if all the people who mobbed me, all the people who harassed me, all the people who slandered me, all the people who did what they did, came back to me and apologized to me, would I really want it? Would I really want it? I remember the time when I left Willesden Green, one of the roommates had the decency to apologize to me, and I immediately I didn't take it. I didn't take it because A, I don't believe them, and B, the damage is done. The damage is all the way done. There is no going back. In the time that I have tried to get people to understand not only what I'm going through, but what other people are going through, multiple people have been murdered. Multiple people have been murdered. You know, those of us who are still here, we've had our health ruined. We've had our lives ruined. We've been isolated. We've been slandered. No help from anywhere, no support from anywhere. We've been picked apart. I know some TIs who couldn't even get basic. I couldn't get basic medical attention. There are several TIs out there who couldn't get basic medical attention. To their absolute detriment. They couldn't get medical attention. Even for something serious. And that's just those of us who are lucky enough to be alive. Those of us who are lucky enough to be alive have to live with the eternal memories of being slandered, of having everything taken away from us. We've had to live with every single piece of happiness we could ever have being taken away from us. And we've had to live with the effects of it on top of that. Effects that, you know, in some instances, there are no coming back from. There's no coming back from me being labelled a fucking pedo. There's no coming back from that. There's no coming back from the deliberate ruination of my mind to the point where I'm hearing voices when I've never heard voices in my life. There's no coming back from that. There's no coming back from somebody trying to multiple times to get me to commit suicide or be hospitalized. For no reason at all. There's no coming back from that. There is no coming back from any of that. There's no coming back from the sexual harassment. There's no coming back from the sexual abuse. There's no coming back from that and the effects that it's had on me. There's no coming back from the psychological abuse, from the physical abuse. There's no coming back from any of it. Let all of them people who did what they did come back to me and apologize to me now. What difference would it really make? The damage is done. The precious time that I lost, that precious time that could have been spent towards my healing, was spent having to fight just to stay alive. And it's because of them. It's because of them. It's because of people saying, Fabian, you've got mental health issues. Fabian, none of this is real. Fabian, you're deluded. Fabian, you're this, that, and the third. You're everything but a child of God. Whilst I'm being tortured to death. Having to hear all of this shit. Arrogant people mocking what we're going through. There is no coming back from the rape. There's no coming back from the physical abuse. There's no coming back from any of that. Let them all come and apologize to me now. It wouldn't mean a goddamn thing. Because what are they going to do? It doesn't cost them anything to say sorry. And there is no possible way that they can make it right. There's no possible way they can make it right. So if they apologize to us, I want every person who's ever been labeled a conspiracy theorist. I want all of you to really look inside yourselves. If these people that hurt you so much, that left you with the scars that you can't get rid of, if all of them apologize to you now, A, would you even want it? And B, would it give you back the time that you lost? It wouldn't. It would be borderline meaningless. So what I've written down here is love costs and takes effort, and none of us are about to make that unless we can get something out of it. And it's usually at the time when we can get something out of it that it's usually the most meaningless. But it's always been the way of the world, and we need to get that. And I finish it on my Facebook and Instagram post by saying, those of us on the side of truth really need to do what we should have been doing and focus on ourselves. Facts. Our lives and ability to be resilient in the face of all of this craziness going on in the world is testament enough to the fact that we were right all along anyway. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like talking about this. And knowing how loud my voice is, I've got people listening in multiple rooms right now. So I don't like talking about this stuff. I didn't come all the way from London to Brighton to talk about this shit, to talk about all the shit that was done to me in London. I didn't come here to talk about that. I came here to find a flat by the seaside and live out whatever life that I can in the midst of this crap. That's what I came here to do. But the truth has to be spoken. And I can't get away from that no matter where I move to. I can't get away from what was done to me. I can't get away from what was done to me. All I can do is because gang stalking is still happening in my life. It's been still happening in my life. All I can do is put myself in an environment that is more healing to me than it would have been if I was still in London or somewhere else. And with that, try to make whatever life I can in the midst of people terrorizing me and then trying to blame my mental health. So, conspiracy theorists, people who slandered you as conspiracy theorists, you were right. Our government is killing people. We're seeing it happen. Our governments are killing people. Our elites, some of our elites are extremely corrupt to the point where they hurt children and kill children. Acoustic weaponry exists. Directed energy weaponry exists. They have been experimenting on people. It does affect the functioning of our brains. All of it is true. Some of the people that were who are perpetrators, they started off being targets first. All of that is true. The psychological warfare through media and through the internet, all of it is all true. You were right. You were 100% right. You got your little details wrong. You got your little facts wrong. Sure, but we all do. Some of you may have been wrong in the semantics, but you were definitely right on the gist. You were right. But don't wait for this world to apologize to you. It's not happening. Don't wait for this world to make up for the awful things that they did to you. It will never make it up for the things that they did to you because it would cost them too much to do it. So by the time they get around to giving you the apologies and giving you your roses and giving you your thanks and atoning for the wrong that was done to you, by the time they get around to it, it won't mean much to you. It won't mean much to you. We're programmed to do things that benefit us benefit us the most and cost us the least. And at this point in time, for this whole world to stop and admit that the truth tellers were right, to stand by us and to do right by us, where right should have been done by us decades ago, it would still cost this world too much to do it, and that's something that we need to accept. There's something we need to accept. We're not getting that apology, and even if we did, it would be meaningless. So, I really didn't like talking about all of this. I don't like talking about all of this stuff, but the truth has to be spoken, innit? But I'm grateful for those who support me and those who have been listening and those who have been standing by me, you know, even when it might have cost them to do so, because I know it must have costed you guys. But the few who actually stood by me, I do thank you. And I love you guys, and, you know, and I wish you every blessing in the world. Thank you so much. And this is where I get off. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of sideways looks coming out of these holes from now on. Oh boy, I hate talking about this shit. Even if it's not true, you say the P word, they look at you sideways. Fuck it. Anyway, it's been lovely talking to you. I wish the subject matter were more lighthearted, but we've got to do what we've got to do. We've got to look after ourselves, leave the dead to the dead, and follow the light. Take care. Bye.